Okay. Alright. Hi guys. Welcome back. This video is, you probably guessed by the title, how I saved $10,000 in 1 year for my exchange. And I'm going to tell you how you can do it too. It certainly wasn't easy, well, a little bit stressful, missed out on a few nights out, but to be honest, it was all worth it because it meant that I was able to go overseas and do all that fun stuff in a new place, you know? So let's get to it, okay? So my university had Excel templates that you could download and you could fill out and you could figure out exactly how much money you'd need to be able to live and then exactly how much money you'd need to be able to thrive pretty much over there. And for me, 10K was the magic number. After doing all the calculations, I found that $10,000 for 6 months would cover my rent, my health insurance, my groceries, and a little bit of leisure, like going out or 1 or 2 trips. Basically what I did is I figured out the number that I needed to be able to live comfortably over there for 6 months. Now you might be going away for 6 months, a year, and depending on your visa you might be able to actually get a job while you're over there. Mine meant that I could get a job, but I chose not to because I wanted to focus on my studies. So that number encapsulated everything and didn't leave, like there was enough that I didn't have to work or worry about having to find a job in a foreign country. Basically, I figured it out a year in advance that I would need $10,000 to be able to live comfortably, and so I formulated a plan. At that time, I was earning about $350 a week to about $500 a week, depending on the shifts. I was working at a cafe job. This was unstable, obviously. Like $350 to $500, that's $250. Well, it's $150 difference, and that money could be going towards my savings. So I decided my first step was to get a second job. So basically, my first job was a cafe job. I would work in the mornings there, 7 till 12 or 7 till 2, and then I would go to uni. I would do my uni work. I would go to the gym, I'd just relax, and then in the evenings I would go to the pub. I had a restaurant job in the evenings and I would work like 5 till 9 or 6 till 10 or whatever. Basically like the beginning, the dinner shift, the night shift. This was pretty stressful for me. I found it very difficult to juggle uni and 2 jobs and like a social life, and I had a boyfriend at the time, and so it was all a bit like stressful. So I decided to drop a subject at university. At my university, you have to take 4 subjects per semester. I dropped down to 3 for that semester that I was working a second job, so I worked a second job for 6 months before my exchange. That was a personal choice. I did a 3/4 load to cope with the stress of like the upcoming move overseas and working 2 jobs and all yada yada yada. So it's not what I recommend. Like that is totally dependent on what you do, but it helped me quite a lot. So, let's talk about taxes for a minute. In Australia, when you earn less than $18,000, you don't get taxed. You get all your money back at the end of the year, end of the financial year within your tax return. But when you work a second job, you can't claim that tax-free threshold because you're earning too much money. So you get taxed 50% in your second job, and you can nominate which job you want to be taxed at that rate. I nominated my pub job because the pay rate was better but the shifts were shorter, so it meant that I was working less hours there than at my cafe job, and so I was earning more money at my cafe job even though they were paying me a lesser rate. Does that make sense? I would work 20 hours a week at the cafe job, right, at a rate of $20 an hour on weekdays and 25 on weekends, whereas at the pub, weekdays was $25 an hour and weekends was anywhere between $30 and $35 an hour, but I would only work there like maybe 10 hours a week. So all combined it was 30 hours and I was earning more at the pub, but because I was working more at the cafe job, I ultimately decided to get my pub job taxed further so that I could put all my hours into Chiba because I knew I'd be earning more there. So because I had the pub job taxed so much, I treated it sort of like pocket money. Yeah. So I would save all of my cafe paycheck and I would treat my pub paycheck as like expenses and like fun stuff. And I was very lucky because I still live at home. If I had lived out of home, it would have been a different story. So at the cafe, I would earn like $500 a week, and at the pub, I would earn $250 a week. So altogether $750. I would aim to save at least $300 a week. That was my magic number to get to my goal by the end of the year, by the end of the time that I had before I went away. So that $300 came out of my cafe job, and when I could, I would make it like $500 or $600. But I also had to account for things like birthdays and like fuel and gym memberships and all your expenses. So if I was earning $250 at the pub and I got taxed at like a 50% rate, I was really only earning $125 there. So that $125 would usually be used for fuel and for the gym and for like getting coffee out with your friends and going shopping, because part of saving is still indulging yourself in the things that you love. It's not living so frugally that you feel so guilty for spending even the tiniest amount of money. Set up a separate savings account for your goal. Oh my God, please. It's so helpful because then you can just put the money in there and you don't have to look at it, and you have your card, you have the account that your card is attached to, and that is not the money that you're using to save. You're not going to use the money that you're trying to save if it's not attached to a card. So this is a guiding principle from, I'll find the book. So the book that sort of guided my saving journey was The Barefoot Investor. You probably heard of it. It's a pretty famous book, best-selling author Scott Pape. The only money guide you'll ever need. It's not quite true, but it is a really good starting point if you're wanting to learn how to save properly and the best way to split up your cash. I use this as a guide more than anything else. I didn't follow it word for word. I just sort of took the ideas that he put in this book and made it my own, like made it something that worked for me, because this is sort of aimed at people who already work a full-time job, and that was not me. I was working 2 casual jobs part-time as well as studying at university. But yeah, this guided my spending and saving. And one of the things that I bought in order to aid my savings was this little whiteboard. And basically what I did is I wrote down what my pay was. So I would write down, I'll do it here. I wrote down pay was $500, pub was $125, both after tax. And basically I'd say, so this is my income, my spending, and I wrote down everything that was a recurring expense, so fuel, gym, etc. And then I would say like splurge would be, I'd allocate like $25 to like breakfast out or getting coffee on campus, you know. And I kept track of my savings as well. So I would have a little barometer type picture on the side with my savings goal at the top, 10K. And this was particularly helpful for me because I'm the sort of person who likes to be able to see everything physically, and having it on my phone was not ideal. My bank, you can categorize your spending and you can set savings goals for your savings accounts, but like it was just annoying to have the notification pop up and say, please save this amount of money. So instead, I would keep myself accountable with a whiteboard like this. I would fill in the barometer, how much money I had, and slowly but surely I could see it creep up and up and up until I got to the very top. It was nice to be able to see exactly what my savings were. I also wasn't super strict on myself. I knew that I had to save at least $300 a week to hit my goal. If I had to take money out of my savings account to pay for a sudden expense like a birthday I forgot about or something, then I would do that and I wouldn't feel bad about it. I would try my best to do that, and then the next week I would just add in what I'd taken out as part of my pay. And sometimes it would take a few weeks to get it back up to where it's supposed to be, but having that timeline and having that goal was very helpful in that I was able to say, well, I can afford myself a little bit of flexibility. When you have a timeline of about a year, you do have that flexibility in that sense that you can just change it up a bit. So if one week you can only put in 250, maybe you got sick and you couldn't work, and then the next week you could put in like 500, then it's flexible. I didn't really go out all that much in the lead up to my exchange. Mostly because I was working so much. I was working in the mornings and I'd work at night, so that basically meant that I was able to have all that fun stuff happen overseas with my new friends. I could afford to do that while I was overseas. Another great tip is to let your friends and family know what your goals are. If they don't know, they're still going to invite you out to go spend money and buy things. Telling your friends and family achieves two things. First, it stops them from asking you out so much, and the second, it keeps you accountable. If you tell your friends and family that you're going to save an X amount of money for a trip that you want to do or exchange that you want to go on, then they're more likely to hold you accountable. If it's just a private goal, then it's kind of okay if you don't reach it. But if you tell other people that you have this goal, and then it kind of gives you that motivation to stay on track and to keep going. To sum up, so figure out your magic number early, make a plan, figure out exactly how much you need to save each week, and the earlier you start saving the better because it gives you more flexibility. Tell your friends and family what you're doing so that they can hold you accountable and not ask you to spend a ridiculous amount of money doing things with them. Figure out what you need to do to keep your mental health intact while you save for your big dream. Track your spending and track your saving. If you don't know where your money's going, it's going to be a lot harder for you to reach your goal. And visualize it. I have my whiteboard. Some people have like affirmations written down. Do whatever it takes to motivate you to reach this goal, because I promise you, once you reach the goal and once you actually get on that plane and go overseas and go on that trip or go move over there, it's so worth the hassle of doing all this. That's all from me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.